The shuttle descended through the lavender clouds of Chiron 6, the alien world shimmering beneath, like a dream made real. Commander Evan Rice tightened his grip on the armrest as the ship jolted through the atmosphere. He had been on countless missions before, but this was the first that involved a home visit, a personal invitation from an alien family. The Chironians were new allies to the Terran Federation. Diplomatic relations were still fragile after years of mistrust. Their culture was known for hospitality but also deep ritual and an unspoken code that humans barely understood. When Evan volunteered to be the first human to visit a Chironian household, he didn't expect it to feel like stepping into a different universe. Commander Rice, his pilot said over comms, "Local time is dusk. They'll be expecting you." The shuttle's landing gear touched down on soft, shimmering ground. A cluster of bioluminescent plants glowed blue under the twin moons. In the distance stood a house, elegant, organic-looking, its walls pulsing faintly as if alive. Waiting outside were 3 figures. The first was tall and broad, skin a deep teal with silver markings that shimmered in the light. The patriarch, Evan guessed. The second was smaller, wearing flowing garments that rippled like liquid metal. The matriarch. And beside them stood a young woman, her skin a softer hue of violet, eyes bright like twin stars. She looked curious, almost amused. Evan took a breath and stepped out, hand over his heart, the Chironian gesture of greeting. "Commander Evan Rice of Earth," he said formally. "Thank you for welcoming me." The patriarch inclined his head. "I am Vareth, keeper of the House of Lyre. This is my mate, Sonali, and our daughter, Karin." The name lingered in Evan's mind longer than he expected. "You honor us with your presence," Sonali said, her voice melodious. "It is rare for a human to walk within a Chironian home." Evan smiled politely. "It's an honor for me as well. I've read much about your people." Karin tilted her head, eyes narrowing playfully. "We've read much about yours too, human. Especially your strange rituals. Eating cooked animals, for instance." Evan chuckled awkwardly. "Well, not all of our customs are elegant." Her lips curved. "So I've heard." Vareth motioned toward the home. "Come, Commander. Tonight we share stories and trust." As they entered, the walls seemed to hum, responding to their presence. The interior pulsed with soft light, shaped by living vines that had grown into the structure itself. It was warm, inviting, alive. Dinner was served shortly after. Bowls of iridescent fruits, golden nectar, and something that looked suspiciously like glowing bread. Karin sat across from Evan, chin resting on her hand, studying him as though he were an exotic animal. "So, human," she said finally. "Do you always stare at things before eating them?" He froze mid-bite, just making sure they're not staring back. Her laughter was like chimes in the wind. Even Vareth chuckled, the deep rumble filling the hall. The tension eased. Evan began to relax, exchanging stories of Earth, oceans, mountains, cities that stretched into the clouds. In return, they told him of Charon's great sky reefs and the ancient creatures that swam through their atmosphere. Hours passed. It felt almost like visiting old friends. But there was something else, a weight beneath the warmth, an expectation he couldn't quite name. When Karin met his gaze, her smile carried secrets. Middle. After the meal, Vareth rose. "It is tradition," he said, "that guests stay under our roof for one night. You will rest here, human. Our home will watch over you." Evan bowed slightly. "I'd be honored." Karin stepped forward. "I'll show him his chamber." As they walked through the glowing corridors, Evan couldn't help but notice how the air seemed to change around her, faintly perfumed, alive with energy. "You don't trust easily, do you?" she asked suddenly. Habit of a soldier, he said. Trust is earned. She glanced back at him. Then perhaps you'll earn ours before dawn. Her tone was teasing, but her eyes weren't. They glimmered with something ancient, something curious. Evan felt a shiver that wasn't entirely fear. They stopped at a room that opened into a vast balcony, overlooking the valley below. The night air shimmered with floating motes of light, the planet's bioluminescent spores drifting through the atmosphere. This will be your rest chamber, Karen said softly. The walls will adjust to your temperature and your breath. Evan looked around in awe. It's incredible. She smiled faintly. It's alive, like us. Before she could turn away, he said, Karen, thank you for not treating me like a stranger. Her expression softened. You are a stranger, Evan Rice. But maybe not for long. She left before he could reply. That night, Evan couldn't sleep. The walls whispered faintly in tones he didn't understand. He stepped onto the balcony, watching the moons drift across the sky. A soft voice behind him said, You are awake, human. He turned. Karen stood in the doorway, wrapped in a robe that shimmered like water. Couldn't sleep either, he admitted. She stepped closer, her gaze fixed on the stars. My people say that when two worlds look upon the same moon, fate begins to weave. Evan smiled slightly. We have a saying, too, that meeting someone under moonlight changes you forever. She looked up at him. Do you wish to change? The question caught him off guard. I don't know. Maybe I already have. Karen studied him for a long moment. You speak truthfully. Most humans hide their hearts. Most aliens do too, he countered, and she laughed softly. They talked for hours about duty, about fear, about the vastness of the galaxy. Evan told her about the wars Earth fought to survive. She told him about the time her people almost vanished to a plague of light. And somewhere between stories, the silence grew warm, comfortable. When dawn came, Evan realized he hadn't wanted the night to end. The next morning, Verith greeted him with unusual solemnity. You have shared the night with my daughter, the patriarch said. This is not a small thing among our kind. Evan froze. We only spoke. Nothing improper. Verith's gaze remained steady. On Chiron, the sharing of night hours is an act of trust and intent. You have offered her your spirit's presence. Evan blinked. Meaning? Sonali entered then, her tone calm but final. Meaning, Commander Rice, that you have courted her. What? No, that's not. Evan began, but Karen entered behind her parents, wearing a small, knowing smile. You did not know, she said softly, but intentions have power here. Verith placed a hand on his shoulder. You are bound to a promise now, human. Our customs dictate that you honor what was offered. Evan looked between them, stunned. Are you saying I'm engaged? Karen tilted her head. If you wish to leave with your honor intact, yes. Ending. The following days were a blur. Word spread quickly. The human who'd bonded with the House of Lyre. Diplomats whispered, reporters buzzed, and the Federation scrambled for clarification. Evan remained in the Lyre household, trying to navigate the whirlwind. Strangely, Karen seemed calm through it all, almost amused by his confusion. I didn't plan this, he told her one night. I came here to build peace, not a marriage treaty. And yet, she said, perhaps peace requires more than words. He frowned. What do you mean? She looked at him earnestly. My father's house has long resisted Federation alliance. But if you join it, even symbolically, it binds our worlds. No more border skirmishes. No more mistrust. So, I'd be a diplomatic husband? Karen smiled. A bridge. And perhaps, if fate allows, something more. Evan ran a hand through his hair. You make it sound like destiny. She met his gaze. Maybe it is. The ceremony was unlike anything he'd seen. Beneath the great sky reef, bioluminescent creatures swam through the air, releasing trails of light. The House of Liars stood in full regalia, their robes glinting in the moonlight. Evan wore traditional Chironian armor, smooth, silver, alive with faint pulses that matched his heartbeat. Beside him stood Karin, radiant, calm, her hand resting lightly on his. Veritha's voice echoed through the hall. From this night, the stars witness union between world and world, heart and heart. As he spoke, 2 strands of living light rose from Karin and Evan's chests, twining together midair, a phenomenon the Chironians called the binding glow. It symbolized connection, not control. And when it faded, the hall erupted in song. Evan turned to her, voice barely a whisper. "So this is real." She smiled. "It is what you choose it to be." Months passed. Evan remained on Chiron as an ambassador and husband in ceremony. What began as formalities soon became something deeper. He learned their language, their customs, their music. And in turn, Karin learned to laugh at Earth humor and mimic his accent. They grew close, not because duty demanded it, but because something genuine bloomed in the quiet moments, shared glances, unspoken jokes, stargazing on the balcony where it all began. One night, as they watched the twin moons rise again, Evan said softly, "You know, I came here expecting politics." Karin turned to him. "And you found love instead?" He smiled. "Something like that. A family I didn't know I was looking for." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Then maybe the stars knew what they were doing." He chuckled. "Guess I should thank them." Her voice was a whisper. "You already have." Above them, the bioluminescent sky shimmered, painting them both in shades of silver and violet, a human and an alien, bound not by treaties or orders, but by something far rarer in the cold vastness of space, understanding. And as the stars shifted above, Evan realized he hadn't just visited an alien family. He had become part of one.